Today I'm bringing you 3 different DIYs inspired by 90+ sellers Iron Side Pinot Noir. For this insanely easy serving board, you're going to need a wire brush, a cloth, cutting board oil, wood glue, a piece of wood of your choosing. Mine was just in my scrap wood pile, a nail gun, and a sander, and of course, Durgy Durg. I took my wire brush and just scraped off that side piece of trunk so there's no dust or anything on it, and just cleaned it up the best that I could because I wanted to keep that raw edge. I clamped a piece of wood down to my table and then sanded it starting with an 80 grit to 120 to 320, so it was super smooth. You don't have to add like little legs, but I just decided to cut down a piece of square dowel that I had on hand, just to little mini dudes, and just glued them and then nailed them directly into the base of that board. And this is all clamped up because I started to see a split, so I just added some wood glue off camera and smushed it back together to ensure that it wasn't about to fall apart. I flipped this guy over and then went ahead and added my cutting board oil. If you guys haven't seen that video of how to make a cutting board, I'll link it for you, but it's really like not difficult whatsoever. I just added some oil to it, let it thoroughly dry, and now you can see the difference of like restoring this piece of wood to make it a serving tray. Because it isn't going to be a cutting board, it's really just for me to put all the goodies onto for everyone to eat, charcuterie board style. Now, as far as this tree branch vase that I thought was going to be super easy, boy was I wrong. So I just had a tree branch, an old one, 2 clamps, a wire brush again, and chisel, some Danish oil, and my drill with a Fastener bit because that's what I thought I needed. Boy was I wrong. First step is same as the previous DIY. You're just going to take your wire brush and literally just brush the absolute crap out of it. Make sure there's no dust or debris, and it actually starts to take a completely different color, which is stunning in my opinion. After that, you just want to even out the edges to make sure that it's going to stand up straight and not wobble over or fall or whatnot. But when I cut this guy open, I quickly realized it had termite damage and I was not about to use that. I have this huge firewood pile, so I just grabbed another branch from it, and then when I cut it open, it was solid, so I moved along with making 2 vases with this guy. Not gonna lie, my confidence is pretty high right now in this DIY because it looks so stunning. I just thought I needed to drill a hole through the top. Let me walk you through that process. I decided at first to clamp down 2 2x4s to my wooden workshop table because I knew this thing was gonna be a little bit jolty when drilling. And then I quickly realized I needed to make a 90-degree clamp so this thing didn't move. But then when I started drilling, you know when you're using a power tool and you're just like, that doesn't seem safe, I stopped immediately and readjusted my position. The reason I want to show these next few mistakes is because I am solo in my workshop and this is how I learned. So I decided to stop with a Fastener bit, go in with a smaller drill bit and kind of drill circles, and in my head I could have chiseled that out.
So dumb. Why would you even do that? I feel like I'm making this so much more difficult.
Went back to the Fastener bit and then decided to try a 1-inch drill bit.
Nothing is working.
I moved over to my copper table before I wanted to throw this thing out my garage and decided one more time to go in with my 1-inch drill bit and just press through.
All of that for a hole.
I never said DIYing was graceful, but finally I got it to work, so I moved to the second tree branch, and then with this one I didn't do a direct circle because there was a split in that wood and I really liked that for character, so I kind of drilled random holes around that split and then connected them with my chisel. I removed all the debris from the hole, and then I set these guys on top of 2 pieces of scrap wood that I had in my shop and decided to just go over it to bring a little bit more life to it with a medium walnut Danish oil. I I let these dry overnight, and then the following day I decided to DIY a vase, if you will. Instead of like putting PVC in there, I just wanted to make it very easy. So I lined each hole with foil, cut off the excess, kind of tucked it underneath the lip of the hole that we made, and then I just shaved down some fluorofoam and decided to soak it in water, because that is much easier than trying to fit a piece of PVC in that crazy wonky hole that I did on the other branch. One thing that I haven't mastered is florals, so I just went ahead and picked up some greens from my local Trader Joe's and kind of worked with what I had available to me in my city, because you might have different things, you know? I popped in my piece of wet fluorofoam and then just started sticking greens in it, and once I started building, I realized I should have got more relaxed greens. These are very stiff, so they're very like they're very much so angry is what I felt like, but I still was gonna push through and work with what I got. So I decided to start to add ornaments, because you know I love gold. That's the theme of our house every year, and I thought it'd be cute to incorporate it into these pieces. To make this work in my favor, I realized I had to add a lot of greens, and on the first space the hole was very small, so I couldn't really do that. So I do suggest making a large hole if possible, and then I decided I wanted to use roses randomly, but I took those out quickly because it just looked very like DIY prom in a Christmas setting. I just wasn't feeling it. Putting the centerpieces together was a little bit frustrating because, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of the greens that I used, but I worked with what I had. So I put out that serving board that we just made and then decided to add greens around it as well to pull everything together. I continued to make this a cohesive piece by adding ornaments to the tabletop greens, but now it's time for the star of the show, which is 90+ Cellars Iron Side Pinot Noir, and it just is so badass with its hardware, the eye on it, the velvet Pinot Noir label, not to mention how absolutely delicious it is. This Iron Side Pinot Noir mixes in generous flavors of black cherries, plums, and sweet spice, so I'm going to walk you through what I add to my charcuterie board to complement this. As far as cheese, I love adding a brie and a goat cheese to the mix with Pinot Noirs. It just goes hand in hand, but this goat cheese actually has honey infused within it. I like to put my crackers in between the cheeses versus like spread throughout the board, so I plopped some pistachio and pomegranate ones right in the center and then started adding my nuts and meat, which were a blend of candied pecans, walnuts, and truffle macadamia nuts. So delicious. As far as meats, I know everyone has a diet or an allergy or a preference, but I like to add prosciutto to my board. I'm more of a salty, savory type of girl, but I do like to add fruits that complement the wine, so I decided to pop in a white chocolate chip inside of a raspberry and add those to the mix as well. Keeping the sweets towards one side, I decided to add some coconut strips just because those are my favorite, and then some acai dark chocolate bites, and that is because chocolate is delicious. I did try to stab the cheese to make it look super professional, but it definitely just fell and looked weird, so make sure your knife that you're using is not heavier than the cheese you're putting out. All in all, this was actually a ton of fun to make. I spent the afternoon creating all these things and putting it together, and truth be told, if I really was hosting a party right after this, I would be so excited with what I produced, and the fact that I can say, oh, I DIY'd every aspect of it minus the wine thanks to 90+ is the absolute best feeling. Thank you so much to 90+ for partnering up with your girl again. I've actually done a couple of videos for them, and I will link them for you below and above. They just have literally the yummiest wine, and I am so stoked to be able to just bring you guys a very simple, well, now that we know what to do, a very simple DIY centerpiece for the holiday season, plus what complements their Iron Side Cellar Pinot Noir. Be sure to check out what other holiday inspiration 90+ has been pumping out with way more than just their Pinot Noir. If you do want to get the bottle that I used within this video, again, I've linked everything down below for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on a DIY centerpiece / charcuterie board / what goes with Pinot Noir, even though you're not a wine professional. I'll catch you Sunday for another DIY.